we're starting with some epic history. Maybe my favorite history channel, I mean, definitely my favorite history channel. And the Battle of Verdun 3D. This came out of nowhere. I mean, they're kind of doing a World War II series right now. Didn't think they'd come back to World War I. I live like 3 hours away from Verdun. I live in Normandy. Obviously, I know about the battle. I know Falkenhayn, the German general. You know, it was like, he decided to attack the city to, you know, because I guess it's kind of a classic city in France. You know, it was important at different time. Like back in the 100-Year War, I think it was important. Or maybe even before that. And yeah, it became like a bloody battle and, you know, absolute insanity. I think both sides lost like 600,000 people. You know, I said before, but in France you can go to almost every small village and you'll have some kind of memorial thing about World War I soldiers, right? And some of them will mention, you know, where they were born, and which is usually the town of the memorial, right? But also like where they died. And I've seen on some of this plaque before, like Verdun, right? Which is unsurprising. It's really not surprising, yeah. It is just one of those battles, right? One of those absolute elite battles in history. So yeah, let's see the Verdun Treaty. Let's see it.
This video is sponsored by War Thunder. The 21st of February, 1916. 1,000 German guns opened fire on French positions around Verdun. These are the opening salvos of one of World War I's deadliest battles. At Verdun, traditional military strategy gives way to the grim logic of attrition.
Madness.
Kill the enemy faster than you lose your own men, and you'll crush his will to fight. The theory will be tested to the limit.
It wasn't just Verdun, right? It was literally like the thing for most of the Allies. You know, they were thinking Germany will run out of men first. So if we keep those strategies of no man's land charge and trench warfare and madness, we should win eventually. That was literally like some of the higher ups thinking, not all of them obviously.
Verdun becomes a giant meat grinder, consuming 1,000 lives a day for 300 days.
Sheesh.
The battle will be immortalized for its horror and the extraordinary suffering of troops on both sides. But it is also a dramatic tale of leadership, determination, and heroism against a backdrop of emerging technologies and evolving military doctrines. This is the story of Verdun, 1916.
The only thing I really know about the map itself is that they were like very important forts, I guess. You know, in terms of the layout of things, I don't actually have much of an idea of how it looked, the battlefield itself, you know? Because it wasn't simple trench warfare, right? Have I been? No. I was saying at the beginning I live like 3 hours away, so maybe one day. It's kind of cool, this look of map, huh? New style for a big history. Or episode 1, okay? So there's gonna be multiple episodes.
2 months earlier, Allied commanders meet at Chantilly, France.
Yeah, the Battlefield 1 map is pretty great. Huh? Not the best map, but it's pretty great. Huh?
France, to discuss military plans for the year ahead. 1915 had been a bad year for the Allies. Russian forces in full retreat. Disastrous landings in Gallipoli. And despite costly Allied offensives, the Germans still occupy Belgium and parts of...
I mean, again, as I said, I live in Normandy, right? And looking at this, it's like, you know, looking at the front, and And Paris, I mean, I live like 2 hours away from Paris, to the west, obviously. And yeah, looking at this, like, if I was in the town I'm in right now back then, I was like probably like 2 hours away from the front. Yeah. Grenades.
France. The Western Front is now locked in trench warfare, in which attacking forces suffer massive casualties for every tiny advance. But Allied commanders at Chantilly believe the German army is now overstretched, and that 1916 is their chance for victory. The Allies agreed to launch large-scale, simultaneous attacks from east, west, and south to deal a knockout blow to the Central Powers.
Oh, that's what it is. Charlemagne's grandson, yeah. I always remember like people saying that, Verdun is like an important city, but again, I wasn't too sure. I thought it was because of battle during the Hundred-Year War, but I guess it's more Charlemagne. Okay.
It is exactly what German commander Erich von Falkenhayn fears. He is already convinced that a decisive German victory in the war is unlikely. Allied resources are too vast. Instead, he argues that Germany should try to force the enemy to negotiate, and do it soon. He believes this can be achieved by making the cost of war impossibly high for the Allies, and that the French will be first to crack. So,
I mean, Germany would be doing great if Austria-Hungary was better, Like, the only problem was that their main ally was just not great.
He plans an offensive against the French, codenamed Operation Gericht. Judgment. The target, Verdun, in northeastern France. The historic fortress city lies in a valley of the River Meuse. In 1914, the Germans had crossed the river to the north, and the city now lies in an exposed salient. But it is well protected. Verdun is surrounded by hills and ridges, reinforced by a ring of powerful forts. Built to guard France's eastern frontier, these are formidable defenses. But there is logic behind Falkenhayn's choice of target. Falkenhayn knows that Verdun holds immense symbolic importance for France, and their generals will feel forced to defend it, potentially to the last man. This is what he wants, because his real goal is not to capture Verdun, but to inflict so many losses on the French that he destroys their fighting spirit. The phrase he repeats...
Which is a weird thing on paper, because he wants the enemy to be in a defensive position, and usually like the defense, tends to be the one inflicting more casualty on the attack.
Repeatedly uses, according to one officer, is that the French army must be bled white.
Yeah.
All the Germans have to do is capture the heights that surround Verdun. The French will be forced to counterattack,
I don't know.
beginning a battle of attrition in which the Germans hold the best cards. Artillery is the greatest killer on the Western Front and is key to Falkenhayn's plans. Significantly, Verdun is just 25 miles from Metz, a major German rail hub with rail links straight back to German factories, ensuring his guns will get all the shells they need. In contrast, Verdun itself can no longer be safely supplied by rail.
Yeah, that's where the whole thing with the road of trucks become a thing. There's like a single road.
To the German advance, and has to rely on a constricted road network for supplies. Some historians claim that later, having seen the battle Verdun became, Falkenhayn lied about his plans in 1916. that in truth he had always hoped to capture Verdun. But after the war, he then chose to rewrite history, even faking a key report to claim he had only ever planned a grand battle of attrition. Falkenhayn's exact objective will soon become a moot point. And either way, the plan is bold and ruthless.
I mean, it's very likely the plan was to do attrition, but I guess he wouldn't be mad if he actually took the town and actually break through and capture most of France. I mean, that was not the strategy if it actually worked out. But I guess in the way he was preparing the battle, he wasn't trying to actually push, per se.
But for it to work, the Germans will have to seize and hold Verdun's famous forts. This video is sponsored by War Thunder, the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made. Available now for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox and mobile. Immerse yourself in the intense combat of War Thunder and take command of more than 2,500 military vehicles from 10 major nations. From the tanks, dreadnoughts and biplanes of World War I to the fighter jets of today, War Thunder puts you at the helm of the most powerful war machines in history. War Thunder's detailed graphics,
it always looks cool, but it is a gauging game, right?
deliver an astounding
Insane amount of grinding, all you have to pay insane amount of money for
down to its individual
anything good, right?
While armor, shells and missiles behave like their real-world counterparts. All this adds up to one of the most sophisticated damage models in gaming.
Yeah, this is the game where people were leaking like real-life information about modern tanks because they were not actually in the game or something, I think. World of Warship.
You can join the action now for free on PC, PlayStation, Xbox or mobile using our links in the description or pinned comment, and jump straight into battle with a community of over 95 million players. New and returning players who haven't played for at least 6 months on PCs and consoles will receive the exclusive Eagle of Valor vehicle decorator, 100,000 silver lions, and 7 days of premium account access. Available for a limited time only.
I tried it before, but didn't play much. Rather be buried under the ruins of the fort than surrender, or in Douaumont's central corridor. Actually, I should pronounce stuff with the real accent since, you know, that's more only used here since I'm French. Yeah, for Douaumont. I guess you would, in French you would say Douaumont. Would read it with a French accent. I need to stop using the weird English accent. Warship is now just dominated by carriers and submarines.
Verdun is protected by 19 major French forts.
That's a lot.
And around 20 smaller fortifications, or ouvrages. Most were built in the 1880s, following France's defeat in the Franco-Prussian War. But they have been continuously modernized and strengthened since. Each fort is within sight of its neighbors, so their guns can offer supporting fire.
Cool. Smart.
The jewel in the crown is Fort Douaumont, which dominates the landscape and is reputed to be the most powerful fort in Europe.
Really?
It is a steel and concrete pentagon, 1/4 of a mile wide, and sits above a slope or glacis, guarded with barbed wire and spiked railings. The center of the fort is protected by a dry moat, 5 meters deep, 10 meters wide. 3 galleries in the forward corners house light cannon and machine guns, which allow flanking fire across the outer glacis and into the moat. At the center, armored observation points, and 5 elevated artillery and machine gun emplacements. These include the Casemate de Bourges, with 2 75mm guns, and a rotating 155mm gun turret that can be lowered into the fort for protection.
Damn, that's kind of advanced.
Only a fraction of the fort is visible from the surface.
Yeah, it's a massive underground
Deep
system.
underground, below 13 feet of earth and 8 feet of steel-reinforced concrete, lie tunnels, facilities.
The thing though with this design that I don't really get is that, you know, it's really hard to get a soldier inside, underground, but it seems like with artillery it's pretty easy to destroy the top guns and all that, which then makes the fort kind of useless, because they can't shoot anybody anymore. It's just a ton of soldiers stuck inside.
And barracks for 800 soldiers across 2 subterranean levels. But all is not as it seems. In the opening stages of the war, Belgium's famous forts had been smashed by German heavy artillery. This had caused French generals to question the value of Verdun's forts. Plus, no one is expecting a major attack at Verdun. So, with urgent calls for artillery elsewhere on the front, Douaumont and other forts have been stripped of their heavy guns. By 1916, they are also pathetically undermanned. In 1914, Douaumont was held by 500 men. Now, by just 56 middle-aged reservists.
Okay, that's crazy.
The most powerful fort in Europe.
Is it? Are the forts actually connected underground? I don't know. I don't know enough about any of this.
Is a paper tiger.
The classic paper tiger thing. There's going to be a battle here, the likes of which the world has never seen. Let's home from a German soldier to Verdun, at Verdun.
German preparations for the attack progress.
I mean, is it? I thought the point was, again, they can cover each other with fire, but, you know, I didn't realize they were actually connected. Because then it seems like a liability. If one falls, the enemy can just, you know, easily get to the other one from underground.
Yes, rapidly. Artillery will pave the way for the infantry's advance. Engineers build 10 new railway lines, 24 stations and spur lines to transport heavy guns into position. They assemble a terrifying arsenal, 1,220 guns for an attack on an 8-mile front, an average of 1 gun every 12 yards.
What's a yard?
1,300 munitions trains deliver 2.5 million shells for the initial bombardment. Finally, 140,000 soldiers move up for the assault.
Man, just like, you know, for some stupid comparison, yesterday we were watching stuff about the Edo period of Japan, and there was a siege where they had like a bombardment, and the bombardment, they fired like 400 or 500 cannonball, right? And that was kind of deemed like, you know, like the biggest bombardment of the time in Japan or something. And obviously it's like, you know, 300 years before this, but still, it's kind of crazy. And the numbers here in comparison is just like, is it even the same world? Salivate at all the artillery, I guess.
Verdun is the first major battle in history to begin with a struggle for air superiority. The Germans deploy 168 aircraft to dominate the skies and prevent French aircraft from observing their build-up. But there are some ominous signs. The French notice that the Germans are demolishing church steeples behind their own line, something they do before a major attack, so enemy spotters can't use them as reference points.
Yeah.
But reports like these, and urgent requests for reinforcements, are ignored. On the eve of battle...
Which is insane, because you'd think it's impossible that it doesn't leak, that they're amassing, you know, 1,000 artillery gun. They have all those trains moving up. Hundreds of thousands of troops. I mean, you know, it's insane that people are like not believing it.
The French are badly outnumbered and outgunned. At 7:15 a.m. on the 21st of February, more than 1,000 German guns open fire on French positions around Verdun.
I can't imagine the noise.
They fire almost 1 million shells that day. The Germans call such bombardments Trommelfeuer, drum fire, because the continuous explosions sound like a drum roll. At 5 p.m., the barrage lifts, and German infantry advance. They find many French trenches abandoned, or occupied only by crazed, shell-shocked survivors. Yet there are pockets of resistance. As dusk falls, isolated French regiments mount a desperate defense from the shattered woods of Caen and Aumont, while French artillery harasses German infantry advancing across open ground.
So you're telling me that they fired a freaking million shell and that wasn't enough to really, you know, destroy anything?
But they cannot hold the enemy for long. 4 days later, on the 25th of February, the Germans reach Fort Douaumont. A small detachment of soldiers approaches cautiously, but to their astonishment, they find it almost abandoned.
Well,
They slip in through an opening, and the famed Fort Douaumont falls without a shot fired. Its loss, a French officer remarks, will cost the French army 100,000 lives.
well, every sign of humanity has been swept away. The woods and roads have vanished, like chalk wiped from a blackboard. Of the village, nothing remains but grist mills. James McConnell, American airman serving with the French. There's a map like that in Battlefield 1, 2, I forgot the name of the map, but it's a night map, I think. Well, you're basically in a map that's literally just mud. I mean, it's kind of Passchendaele, maybe, just mud, like a few walls of house that are left, and the ground is filled with like pieces of bricks and broken, you know, piece of woods, and it's like, it genuinely looks like, you know, nothing like Earth, right? It's like, it's been bombarded to like every single, you know, meter of land has been bombarded before, right? And there's nothing as it used to look, and it's such a crazy visual. Attrition.
The Germans are now just 6 miles from Verdun. Only a weaker line of forts, Souville, Saint-Michel, and Belleville, stand in their way. France's high command has been caught napping, and at first, Commander-in-Chief General Joffre is reluctant to act.
Really?
He wants nothing to disrupt plans for the major Allied assault that summer.
Some?
But he is soon persuaded that Verdun's loss would be an unacceptable blow to French morale, as well as a political disaster.
Would it be though, like, I don't want to be that guy, but was it that well known at the time that Verdun is an important town? Yeah. Like, even I don't, like, I know it's important because of the history of World War One, right? But I have a hard time believing that people at the time really, like, thought about it that much, you know? Like, Verdun is such an important city? I don't know. Michel Ney had a fort named after him. Possible.
He orders the entire Second Army under General Philippe Pétain to reinforce Verdun. 6 days after the German attack, Pétain is in overall command of the sector. He immediately suspends costly counterattacks to prioritize defense. And by the end of February, the French line has been shored up. One help is that the Germans have advanced beyond range of their own supporting artillery. Guns that are nightmarishly hard to haul forward through the thick mud.
This thing must be crazy.
The German advance stalls. Crucially, Falkenhayn has failed to capture all the heights on the east bank of the Meuse. This means German lines are exposed to artillery fire from Bois-Bourrousse, Mars and Vacheauville, and other French guns on high ground west of the Meuse.
I mean, it might not seem for foreigner, but Vacheauville is such a French name to the max. It's like it's almost like cow of the city or something. It doesn't really translate, and it's not proper French, but I don't know how to describe it. It's a very funny name. Like that's the type of name that you hear for the most remote French village. Yeah.
German planners had urged Falkenhayn to attack these positions from the start. Finally, on the 6th of March, long after the element of surprise has been lost, he extends his offensive to the West Bank. After a devastating artillery bombardment, 2 divisions, more than 30,000 men, attack on a 3-mile front. They suffer heavy losses and are unable to take 2 key positions that will become infamous, Côte 304 and Le Mort Homme.
That means the dead man.
At the end of March, 2 more German attacks are bloodily repulsed, around Douaumont village and the Bois de la Cayette.
The wood of the Cayette.
The battle already seems to be taking on a life of its own, sucking in more and more troops. The original objectives blurred, as every village and high point becomes a ferociously contested prize. Falkenhayn is later criticized for 2 key mistakes.
I was gonna say, like, looking at this, I didn't realize he had such what seems like such an easy victory, as you know, barely enough troop and the forts are barely defended, and you know, the French army didn't really believe this was going to be attacked, despite all the build-up, and yet he still kind of didn't really take proper advantage of all of it, or maybe the fort was still too strong, I don't know. It's maybe a bit of both, but it's surprising how much of an advantage he seemed to have.
Mistakes in this opening phase of the battle. Not attacking on the west bank of the Meuse from the outset, and not committing his reserves soon enough to exploit his early breakthrough. Now, those opportunities have passed. There will be no more easy gains for the Germans.
It's weird because isn't Falkenhayn actually like he was a pretty great general or something? Didn't he have a lot of big victory, especially against the Russians?
And a familiar pattern emerges. As Verdun turns into a terrible, grinding battle of attrition. As deadly for the Germans as for the French. Thanks to War Thunder for
Okay, well, I guess I should have known, yeah, like 20 minutes to cover Verdun, that's not enough. But I'm actually kind of glad that they're going that in depth. I don't know how many episodes, but yeah, anything epic history, I'm gonna eat it up. It's fucking great. It's a great video, and actually seeing it in visual like this is interesting. Again, I never really had much of an idea of how it actually looked in terms of the overall map itself, but yeah, that was really interesting. And again, the way Epic History has evolved, you know, with like the Nelson videos with actual 3D shapes to now this kind of thing, really high level stuff. Yeah, it looked really good. But you, so great video from Epic History. But when is the next World War II video? There are so many projects. They have like American Revolution, World War II, more Napoleon video, now Verdun. That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff. The past in World War I and accidentally calling the war World War I to the soldier. I mean, I don't think anyone would believe, right? Like, in the middle of the carnage, they would all think there's no way this is ever going to happen again once it's over, right? Yeah, doing alright. Great video as always. Really enjoyed it. Okay, well, that was great. Looking forward to the next episode, yeah.